extra long. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Vacant Hour Podcast. My name is Dylan, and I am joined once again with the lovely Vanessa.
Hello. It is me.
And today, the topic is going to be conspiracy theories. So, Vanessa and I compiled a couple of conspiracy theories that we found pretty interesting.
We found 3 each.
So we'll see if we have time to talk about all of them, because the way we decided to do it were 2 that we were mildly interested in, and then 1 that we were extremely interested in, 1 that really caught our eye. So if you guys really enjoy what we're doing here, if we don't finish up, leave a like, leave us a comment, tell us what you want to hear. Do you want to start off?
If you have any conspiracy theories of your own that you would like to see us talk about on the podcast, leave a comment below.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into it. I really enjoyed looking these up. I had some downtime at work where I just listen to a bunch of them. I also listen to them in the car on the way to work. They're definitely interesting. Some of them I just get blindsided with crap that I'm like, okay, whatever. Do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off?
You could start off.
Okay. So the one I will start off with is one that, this one's wild. This one is, I picked only one that was like out of this world crazy. For the people out there that don't know who David Icke is. So he used to be a British football star, and one day he just went on air and started preaching about lizard people to the country, and he got laughed off stage. Like, they laughed at him until he left and pretty much called him crazy. Everybody said he was super crazy, and he probably still is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pink Guy, or if for people who haven't heard of him, Filthy Frank made a song on his last album called Flex Like David Icke, and at the time I'd never heard of David Icke, and because it's like wild, it's like Flex Like David Icke, the alien, or David Icke was right, the aliens are here, lizard people, and blah blah blah, and I was like, what the hell is that about? And lo and behold, it's 100% true. Apparently, he's made millions selling books, and he has a lot of followings. I just want to understand, or explain this conspiracy theory to the people who don't understand. David Icke said that he had a premonition, or not even a premonition. He just had realized one day that the government was controlled by someone who is unseeable, and apparently the people are lizard people, and they're only seeable outside of this, because you know how we have light spectrums, we can see different lights, there are different animals that can see different light spectrums. Mm-hmm. Apparently, the lizards people are only seeable outside these light spectrums, and it's odd because in all the videos that I watched of him, he never really explains how he was able to see them, how he was able to figure out that they were lizard people, because last time I checked, most of the families that he threw out were warm-blooded creatures. And it's odd because he says that lizards are all about bright colors and boasting and blah blah blah, which the families that he pointed out were like the Bush family, the Rothschild family, which I think is a rich family in England, and the Obamas. And he's like, if you look at these families, they're all about bright colors, boasting, power. And he said that when these lizard people, the lizard people are like demons. They're summoned through sacrifice. They're like demons. Apparently back in the day, these families used to do, because you know how the Aztecs and stuff had ceremonies where they cut people's head off and eat the flesh and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, once these practices became, like, taboo, they started doing it in the background, and it still summoned these lizard people who would then control these people who would go into power. And then they were the ones really controlling it, which I don't totally get. Um, it's so weird. Takes over. Let's see. And the whole goal is apparently to start a whole new world order. They all want to control the world, like every single one. And I don't know if it's only like the U.S. and the English government that have these lizard people that control them, but it's just wild. Like, and yeah, like I said, it's crazy because he does have a lot of followers when it comes to this. He has entire like stadiums that are filled with people that believe this.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And he makes millions selling these books. It's wild as hell. Like, I don't understand how you could even believe that. Like, what? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I don't buy into all of the lizard stuff.
Yeah, obviously not. Like,
I just don't.
it's crazy. It's like science fiction.
When I see like conspiracies like that, it just kind of like, are you serious?
Well, and the thing with it is like, ooh, the government isn't telling you everything that they know.
Which they aren't, but I mean, I doubt they're not telling you. I doubt they're lizard people.
They're controlled by lizard people that are unseeable and untouchable.
Yeah, I think that they do have secrets that, are obviously, like, people have secrets.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they keep secrets to, not freak out the mass media. Because if everybody's freaking out, everybody feels unsafe.
Yeah, and don't trust the government, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, then how are they going to handle whatever problem they're...
Anarchy!
Yeah, exactly. I think, the government has secrets. So does, like, everyone else. But I doubt they're hiding that they are actually lizard people.
Yeah. One of the funny thing is that BBC did a documentary on him that I watched a little bit of, and the thing is that makes it really unbelievable is that when you listen to him talk about it, he kind of says the same things over and over and over again. Which
I think he just sees that he's getting fame, or like he's just crazy, and he's just like, yes, people are buying into this.
People are buying into this.
You know how like those people like prey on like people who are like psychic mediums but not really, and they fake it, or people who are like, you have to, like the miracle water thing where you send in whatever.
Well, there's some people that truly believe that. Like, you make one good guess.
They prey on like those old people because they're like, oh, they definitely.
No, I mean the psychics themselves probably believe that, because maybe at one point they were like, oh shit, that actually worked. Maybe I am psychic, and then it stops working.
I think.
You don't think any of them really believe they're psychic?
I think they see maybe one real psychic out of many, and they're like, this is going to be a piece of cake. Like, all I have to do is get enough information, and say vague information, get them to tell me enough information so it makes them think that I'm actually talking to whoever.
And one thing that I'm wondering is like, what happened? Do you think he just like dropped acid or something and saw lizard people and was like, oh shit, and then now he believes in them? Like, do you think that's what happened?
I don't know, but if you believe in lizard people, leave a comment us below. Anyways.
She's done with the lizard people talk at this point.
I have 2 Disneyland conspiracies. I'm just going to talk about one because I think we'll go back and forth. But, yeah.
Go for it.
Alright. So, if you guys are into creepypastas, there was this creepypasta about Mowgli, like Mowgli's palette. I think it's called Abandoned by Disney. And it was actually based off 2 actual parks that closed. One of them being Discovery Island, and the other one River Country Music. So, the 2 parks were built in Orlando, Florida. They were part of the Walt Disney World there. And they are the only 2 parks to close permanently. So, Discovery Island was purchased by Disney in 1965 and reopened under the name Treasure Island in 1974. And they decided that Treasure Island was going to be wildlife themed, so they had a bunch of exotic animals there that you can learn about.
So it was like a zoo.
Yeah, so just like how Animal Kingdom is now, except without the rides, they would take boats out there or ferries and go to the park and walk through wildlife.
Is it like
and
real?
learn about them, and they had shows. Yeah, they're all real.
Like real animals, like not
Yeah.
animatronics.
So, yeah, the park was accredited by the American Zoo and Aquarium Association, so they were all real. And it was known for breeding rare birds and was home to the now extinct dusky seaside sparrow, which I don't think I've ever seen before, but if anybody knows about that, it's extinct and it's pretty sad. Okay, so once Animal Kingdom opened in 1998,
It would open in 1998.
Yeah, okay. Animal Kingdom opened in 1998. Sorry, my notes are like...
Train of thought just crashed.
Yeah, people stopped going to Treasure Island just because first of all, it took a lot of money to operate, taking the ferries back and forth. Nobody wanted to go back and forth. Mm-hmm. Animal Kingdom had, the rides, everybody, and it's more convenient to walk up to the park.
Don't you have to take a ferry to one of them in Disney World now? Isn't that
I don't know. We're talking about Disney World.
I know. I'm saying.
I'm sure. Yeah, there's a ferry ride.
Yeah, isn't there not Animal Kingdom?
I think you take the ferry ride to Tom Sawyer's Island.
Tom Sawyer's Island.
Or something.
I took a ferry to one of them when I was in Disney World. Continue.
Anyways, so then once everybody stopped going, and it was a lot of maintenance to keep it open, and there was very little visitors, the park closed, and the animals were relocated to the new park and other places. The island was rumored to be replaced with a hotel, but it still sits abandoned. And actually, if you guys heard about this, because again, it was based off a creepy pasta, there was this group of explorers that went over to the island to see if they can see anything. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So they swam through the waters, and obviously it's Florida, so alligators are in there.
Damn.
Yeah, but they ended up getting in, and they found Coke bottles, and you can see the pictures online if you just search Treasure Island or Discovery Island. I think it's on like their Tumblr page, but they found like these Coke bottles, and it was like preserved snakes.
What?
I know, and Coke
like there were
bottles.
Snakes in there?
Yeah, and like some kind of liquid.
Oh, like
yeah, and the park was like overgrown. So if you look at the pictures, it's pretty sad. But there's rumors that Disney might do something with the park. But then again, I don't know, because it's been sitting abandoned for years. But anyways, that's the first one. The conspiracy about that is people have stated that music still plays and the lights are still on, and sometimes I don't know if this is, I think it's River Country Music also has the same conspiracy that there's people still like stacking towels for them, and you know what I mean, at the park.
My thing about that is that a lot of hauntings are from like evil energy. So what? Disney's like a happy place.
I'm not done with the conspiracy.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so
it doesn't make any sense.
River Country Music was a park based off like an old time watering hole. So it was in retrospect, a water theme park. Mm-hmm. But then Disney opened Blizzard Beach because it was much safer, because River Country closed due to a harmful bacteria that they found, a string of like bacteria, and I think a 5-year-old or 15-year-old boy had died.
Damn.
And I think that was the only one death that they proved. So yeah.
They've only ever had one death at Disney?
No, I'm sure they've had a lot.
Oh, I thought you were...
But Disney doesn't like to say that people die at Disney.
I'm curious. I wonder how people died at Disney.
So anyways, River Country Music got closed because they were incorporating fresh water so that it wasn't just, you know, like, I don't know. It was like water from the lakes and stuff, I guess, around it. So, of course, bacteria and people get sick because of it. So it was closed. There are rumors that river country music, the land that it's surrounded by, may be turned into something because Disney in 2018, I can't remember what month because I didn't write it down for some reason, might be using the land for something. Maybe a honeymoon suite, maybe a resort. But they are, getting it tested and, to see if it would be fit for building. But the conspiracy basically is saying that, that people still haunt the park, but I think it's just because the park is abandoned.
Yeah, abandoned.
Yeah. I just find it interesting that Disney has 2 parks that are still abandoned that still have not been cleaned up. You know what I mean? They just kind of sit there, and they're not being used for anything.
That's
you
wild.
would think because some of those parks take all the, whatever rides, because River Country Music had slides and stuff that they could take, and the fact that there's like animals and bottles and stuff, but that could be just someone swam over there and decided, kids.
Yeah,
probably
but if
that.
it was a creepypasta, it's probably made up.
No, that wasn't part of the creepypasta.
Oh, it wasn't?
That's a real thing.
Oh.
Mowgli's Palace is the creepypasta. If you were listening.
No, I was. I just got confused.
No.
So apparently 14 people have died at Disney.
Yeah.
But
there's more. But the reason why is Disney won't. If you die at Disney, they won't let a doctor confirm their death at Disney until they get to a hospital, so that they don't
pay it off.
So that they don't say that they died at Disney.
Yeah, this article says that at least 14 have died and at least 7 had pre-existing health conditions.
And another spooky thing about Disney is that sometimes people will sneak ashes of their loved ones and pour it out on rides. One of the biggest rides.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, one of the biggest rides that people do that on is Small World.
Really?
Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion.
Oh, could you imagine riding that and getting a puff of like someone's grandma?
I think someone in, I think it was Small World or Pirates of the Caribbean, got caught doing that, dumping the ashes in the water, but they weren't able to prove if it was ashes or not. But yeah, people do that, but Disney does not allow that.
That's so gross. I'm sorry. Should I dump my father's ashes at Disney?
No.
You think you'd be happy about that?
But like people do that, but I think who. But apparently on the Haunted Mansion, there is a little boy. I guess his ashes were dumped there, and he haunts the Haunted Mansion, and you can see him on one of the little buggies. There's a lot of like hauntings at Disney I won't get into, but that's the main one. I thought I'd talk about the parks that are permanently closed that we will never get to experience, because I personally have never heard of those 2 parks, never seen those parks. Obviously they closed in the 70s. But I personally think Treasure Island would have been cool to kind of learn about exotic birds. They were they were a place of breeding different exotic birds.
So it was kind of really like a sanctuary kind of.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know, I think it would have been cool. They did a lot of shows there apparently. I don't think I would have enjoyed River Country just because of the bacteria and stuff. Like,
obviously.
The water scares me. You know what I mean? Fresh water. Who knows? But,
Yeah, they probably didn't really use the chemicals back then that they do now to clean all the bacteria out.
So, yeah, it reminds me of that park that was called Action Point, I guess.
Action Point?
Yeah.
Isn't there? Oh, yeah.
So if you know anything about that. If you guys want to check out a really cool channel that I have been interested in, it's called Defunct Land. They talk about a lot of rides that have come and gone and why and what they were all about. And I don't know. They talk about rides that were at Disney. They also talk about rides that were at Six Flags. different theme parks. They also talk about TV shows, so if you're interested, go check them out. They're really cool.
If you want, I'll leave a link in the description for you to check out.
All right, do you want to get to your next conspiracy?
I had a question.
Okay.
Do you want your ashes spread to Disney? If you die before me?
No, just because I know, like, right away they probably clean that shit up.
But what if you start haunting the place?
I would end up in the sewer.
But what if you start haunting the place?
No, I'd rather be somewhere beautiful.
Oh, okay. I wanted to just, like, talk a little bit about the hauntings at Disney because, like I was saying, like, that doesn't make any sense to me, like, because wouldn't it have to be a bad experience for you to haunt the halls of Disney?
I don't know. I think people... No, it doesn't have to be necessarily a bad experience because there's a ghost who was crushed. Her name was Debbie something.
That's pretty good. That's pretty bad. That's a pretty bad experience.
Also, there's like people who've had heart attacks and still haunt places. You know what I mean?
I guess.
I don't think it has to be.
Heart attacks are pretty traumatic, babe.
Yeah, but you know that's a natural. You know, everybody's dying of.
I don't want to die of a heart attack.
I just don't think it has to be a bad experience.
I thought it just had to be like bad juju or energy that makes.
No, because there's good hauntings. Like, Walt Disney is said to haunt the... So, on Main Street, there's a firehouse. Apparently, there was a worker there cleaning up, decided to... Or, he turned off the light switch. As he left, he noticed the light switch was turned back on. And ever since, they think it is Walt Disney's ghost saying, "Hey, I'm still here." Or apparently he did hear that. He heard, "Hey, remember, I'm still here."
He's like, "Sup, bitch?"
So they leave the light on for Walt Disney. So if you're ever wondering why that light's always on, that's why. Walt Disney's up there in the firehouse.
It's just some sweet story, but really, he's like, "Hey, don't shut that off, asshole. I'm fucking walking here."
No. Yeah. So...
Get my next one.
I don't know. I really enjoy, like, Disney conspiracies. I enjoy Disney ghost hauntings. Just stuff like that. Just because I think it's creepy. Because, you know, Disney's supposed to be, like, a magical place.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to Disneyland Paris, which is pretty cool. I just found that out today. So, yeah.
So excited.
Get on your next conspiracy.
Yes, ma'am. Alright.
Because we are not done with Disney. My next one is about Disney. It's pretty short, though.
Are all 3 years about Disney?
No. The last one's about something else.
Alright, so my second topic that I wanted to talk about was the Malaysian Airlines 370 that disappeared flying from Malaysia to Beijing, China.
Mm-hmm.
So this was an interesting one, too. Because it's really weird. Because, you know, most of the time when there is a plane crash, usually some wreckage will turn up or the black box will be found. And it's super wild because the government was really weird about the whole thing. Watching these videos, when the airplane disappeared, like, I don't think Malaysia even, like, admitted that it was disappearing, or that it disappeared until 48 hours after China came out and said, "This plane's gone. We don't know where it's at." And Malaysia kept coming back and was like, I just watched a lot of the things that they talked about. They kept backtracking on shit. They were like, "Oh, it had to be, it landed at this U.S. military base. It landed somewhere else. We know where it's at." And none of it ended up being true.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because one of the people that they did think that maybe the people that hijacked it was, apparently there were 2 Iranians on the plane that was traveling with stolen passports. And the last communication on the plane was the air traffic controller checked in and they were saying, "Hey, we're checking off. Good night, flight 370." And they're like, "Good night." And then it was only, I think, about 6 minutes later that the communication got cut off altogether. And on their flight path, they were supposed to go straight to Beijing, which is about a straight shot from where they were going. All of a sudden, the plane turned left, going towards India. I think it was India. Yeah, they started going left, and they just disappeared over the off the coast of Malaysia. They just started going left and totally disappeared. And a couple of the conspiracy theories that was obviously the Iranians hijacking it. That was one of them. Let's see what else I have written down. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to see how crazy this is. 239 passengers. 239. Not a single one of them have been found. And it's been over, I think, 5 years. 5 years? No, 4 years. I think it's been 4 years since it disappeared. Not a single person has been found. Not a single piece of the aircraft has been found. There was a couple times on that airplane wreckage has washed up on shore, but none of it matched the plane, the Flight 370. And another conspiracy from that is that 2 months later, another Malaysian airline flight got shot down over the Ukraine by Russians. And they were saying that it was the exact same plane. 2 months later, the exact same plane with the exact same people. But they used it to cover up that, like, 370, this was, they were trying to get rid of the evidence that 370 ever, like, that it was around or anything, right, the plane. But that one just doesn't stick with me, obviously, because there were different families that were involved with that. The plane obviously had a different serial number and crap all over it, and which is a stupid theory. I think it's kind of dumb. Like, change my mind.
Yeah.
They were saying that it did land at a U.S. airbase because in the area that the plane disappeared, there is a U.S. airbase there, and they were saying that the U.S. took it and hid the evidence, but which boggles my mind, because why would the U.S. want 239 passengers and never admit? And I feel like that'd be on record somewhere. Like, someone would have to squeal about that. That wouldn't just fly, right?
Yeah.
It just weirds me out because
I think aliens.
You think aliens?
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's obviously one of the conspiracies.
I know it. It's like all the plane, like, that planes go missing. It's like the aliens, man.
Well, it is wild to think about, because you think after they searched the area where it would have disappeared and run out of gas.
What do you think happened to Amelia Earhart? Aliens.
She flew over Bermuda Triangle and they got sucked to another dimension.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they made that show. There's some show that was going around where apparently these people landed at this airport and it was a big emergency and they're like, "What the fuck?" And
you watched that?
I watched the trailer for that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and they're like, you were gone for like 5 years or a decade.
I watched that. I was like, whoa, the plot twist.
Oh, what the fuck?
I won't watch it, but that's crazy.
No, I know. It was like, it's that kind of thing where it's like,
yeah, they got sucked into another dimension. Aliens are probing.
They'll be back in a couple years.
Yeah, don't even worry about it.
Sorry to the families. If there is any of the families from Malaysian Airlines listening to this, we're just...
Yeah, we're just reading conspiracy theories.
It's crazy. Like, we want to know, obviously, what happened. This is insane. Because
imagine being on the plane.
Yeah.
And, like, being with aliens and being like, wow, I wish I could tell my family.
Well, the thing is, it just blows me away, because wouldn't it turn up? Where the fuck could it have gone?
Yeah, but here's my thing. What if it did, like, go into the sea somewhere, and, like, the sea's huge?
Yeah, but...
And, like, there's so much to,
of the plane, but that plane is made of aluminum. A lot of that stuff will float, and on the crash, parts of it will fly off. So you'd think that somewhere in the coastline, anywhere, a piece of this plane would turn up. Like, it's just wild to think about that none of it was ever found. And they had multiple countries, even India, which is in that area, searching for this boat. Planes flying over, boats. For 4 years. They called it off, I think, no, for 3 years. 3 or 4 years. Because they just called it off. Mm-hmm. And they said, we've searched and can't find a single bit. Like, we have to call this off. Because it was billions of dollars wasted. Like, not wasted, but billions of dollars that didn't go to anything. They couldn't find anything.
Yeah. And
it's like, if it crashed in the ocean, you didn't think maybe someone would have survived? Because those planes are made to crash in the ocean. Or at least landed. And they have life rafts. All that kind of stuff. You don't think a single person would have survived that and been able to float to shore or something?
It's just crazy because there's been so many well, not so many, I shouldn't say that. There's been accounts of obviously disappearances where someone's in a plane and they disappear, like Amelia Earhart.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one that flew over the Bermuda Triangle that I can't think of. And it's but then again, Amelia Earhart's, like, we wouldn't be able to tell because they didn't have the technology.
Yeah.
Like, she could have just went into the ocean and died.
Mm-hmm.
But then you hear about something like this recent and you can't find anything about it, and it makes you think.
No, and it blows me away too because they use satellite imaging to search the area too, and still didn't find jack shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck?
Or maybe it flew. There's places where planes can't fly over, like, that are dark on the map, because they are like Area 51, you can't fly over there.
Yeah.
What if it accidentally took a wrong route into a place it shouldn't be flying over, and
well, the routes that
people were like, okay, you can't be doing that.
Well, the countries that were involved were countries that they would have flown over in that flight path. Obviously China, India, any of the they were all European Union areas. They wouldn't have been able to fly any further unless they landed and gassed up somehow. Because they would have...
Maybe they did fly over a place they couldn't fly over.
What do you think, China took them? Like what?
China, where are they?
China, you fucks.
We'll be speaking with China tomorrow. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We'll be speaking with Italy tomorrow.
My God.
About my spaghetti.
About my spaghetti. Knees weak, arms spaghetti.
No. I have no idea, but I would love...
That's wild. It'd be nice to know.
Theories on it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear what other... Because, that reminds me. You know how there was that guy on Twitter this year, I think? They got that weird
Alpha, but then it came out that it was fake.
Yeah, that whole thing was connected to the Malaysian Airlines.
Yeah, but it was fake.
It was total BS, but
he came out and...
Did they actually come out and say it was fake? Because I know he talked to Shane Dawson, but he said he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, it was fake.
Okay. I didn't know how...
Wasted time, BP.
Yeah, we never found Malaysian Airlines.
No. See, that's the thing. It's so hard to find truth when there's so many people who want to play with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mess with your mind.
You never know what's true or not because people just love fucking with other people, which is fucked up because
also sometimes it's not even everybody. It's errors of people who are investigating.
Yeah.
Because you hear a lot about that. Like there was errors on murder cases where they were moving stuff around and then they messed with the crime scene. And then things don't add up again.
Well, and that's another thing that happened with the Malaysian Airlines is that because of how shittily they fucking how bad they were about communicating and getting this shit all out immediately, saying, "Hey, this disappeared. We need to find it and get out there and do it." The black boxes that are on those, they send out a ping to be discovered if they've crashed or anything, right? Mm-hmm. And those have the flight recordings, they have the flight pass, they have any communication that's been going on inside the cockpit. And they, because of how shitty Malaysian Airlines was about getting this all just started and the countries getting it communicated with other countries, the batteries on the black boxes were probably dead by the time they actually got out and started searching for them.
Yeah.
So it's sad. It's sad because of that too. Yeah. Hopefully someday the families of those 239 people get their answers because it's sad. It would be awful to hear about a family member that just disappeared, no fucking reason.
Yeah, because it's one thing to hear that they died in a crash, because then you have that. Mm-hmm. You have that. You
have closure.
Yeah, you're sure about it.
Yeah.
But it's another thing when no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Then you're like. Is he still out there?
Yeah, exactly.
Whoever's still out there.
It's
Should
terrible
I wait
to think
for this
about.
person? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that concludes my awful conspiracy theory. Multiple conspiracy theories on one.
All right, so mine's pretty short. Again, it's about Disney, but don't worry. It's very short because when I was looking up Disney conspiracies, I just thought this one was very... It was very, I read it, and I was I don't know what to make of this, if this is true or not, if someone just wrote it, So basically, if you go to Main Street, there's a refreshment corner. It's sponsored by Coke, and
Oh my god.
the basement is cursed. So whoever goes down into the basement would die. So then they decided to take all their stock up from the basement and shut it down, close the basement, like no one goes down there. But apparently, the basement never existed. So they're claiming there is no basement, never existed. They don't know what you're talking about. But older people who worked there when the basement was still running will tell you, yes, there was a basement, and yes, the theories are true. So I don't know what to make of that. It's a very short. Whoever went down to the basement would die. Either they don't have a basement, or they have a basement, or someone was bored one day and was like, you know what? I don't know how it would be cursed, anyways.
Yeah, unless I'm like
unless
Juju
it was like
witch doctor
unless
there.
that's cursed ground it's laying on,
That's
or
true.
like
That's true.
burial. But yeah, so that's the conspiracy.
Really? That's it? Someone dies if they go in the basement?
Yep. So don't go into the refreshment corner of the basement, even
So
if there is
I'm
one.
so you die if you go down there.
Yeah, I don't know how.
So what did they sacrifice like 18 people getting all the stock from down there?
I have no idea.
They're just like, okay, you're gonna die, but go down there and get all this shit.
No, they closed it down.
And close it down.
But some people say there was never Disney claims there was never a basement.
Really? But is it actually there?
Everybody says there's no basement. I don't know. I've never. Obviously, you probably can't even go down to the basement. It was used for stock, so I don't know.
That's really weird.
So do you want to start on your next one?
I
just
quick.
thought that one was like a weird one.
So my next one is really
The
long.
cursed basement.
So, mine is something that a lot of people are up in arms about. This is kind of a controversial topic. Apparently, I didn't really know about it until now.
I did.
And a lot of it, and it is...
I'm woke.
It is fluoride in the water. So, this whole conspiracy theory is based on the fact that the U.S. government puts fluoride in the water.
To make the fish gay.
To make the fish gay, as Alex Jones has said. The frog's gay, actually. And a lot of people say that it's also about mind control. The government is controlling you because it's so odd listening to this, because I watched a shite ton of videos on it, and it was wild because a lot of them I was like, ooh, this is really interesting. And okay. So I watched probably several videos where a lot of them were explaining the fact of the history and why they do it. So the history behind fluoride in the water is that fluorine, I think it's fluorine, is a chemical that's found in a lot of minerals, and fluoride is just a fluorine with an extra electron, I think. It's actually known as calcium fluoride. And the thing about it is that makes people so upset about it is because fluoride is used to, and the government has also said that it is used to help your teeth. It helps strengthen your teeth, and it helps with cavities. And the reason that this started is because back in the Disney, I don't remember, I think it was the 1930s, there was a doctor who came to Colorado Springs. And he found that the people there had brown spots on their teeth. And that was a product of something called fluorosis. And when if there's too much fluoride in your water, it will cause brown spots on your teeth. But he also noticed that the people there also had almost no cavities. Their teeth were completely healthy. And this was back before people really regularly brushed their teeth and did all this kind of stuff that we do nowadays. So the U.S. government started regulating it and putting it in the water. And a lot of people say that it is forced medication. And the problem with that is that a lot of the water, or actually 99% of the water that comes naturally from our mountains, from snow, from everything, contain a certain amount of fluoride in it, depending on where you live, because it's in the minerals in the ground and it picks it up. And getting all of it out is not really possible, even with using carbon filtering, like they have the can you stop poking me and let me finish this? They how they have the life straws and stuff. Those are carbon filtered, but even if you use those on the water, it doesn't get a lot of the fluoride. It doesn't get all of the fluoride out. So to me, it sounds really just like the U.S. government uses fluoride, or they regulate the amount of fluoride that's in it. And that's like, you can obviously get the brown spots on your teeth. It can be bad for you. That's why they tell you do not swallow toothpaste. And they tell you to only use a pea-sized amount of toothpaste on a child's toothbrush, because too much of it can cause fluorosis in the browning in their teeth. And obviously there's no mind control bullshit. Let me grab my notes, because I have a lot of crap written down for this. Here's where it gets unbelievable for me. So a lot of the videos that I did watch from YouTubers, not real, like, scientists, not doctors, like actual physicians or anything, a lot of them said these same exact facts that I am saying. And a lot of them also had a second agenda that I noticed. A lot of them would start going, the only way to really get fluoride out of your diet is to start a nice, healthy vegan diet. And I went, bam, right there. There's the reason why a lot of these people are actually making these videos. And I'm not saying that vegan diets are bad. Me and Vanessa eat a lot, pretty vegan actually. I'm still pretty meat eatery, but her and I have really been switching to a lot of vegan options because they're good, they're tasty, and they're pretty nice, like cheap to make and eat, and I don't feel like crap. And I agree. I like vegan food. I'm still not vegan. I'll never claim to be vegan unless I decide to go fully vegan. But it just seems like a lot of them were really going towards this message. And it's like, it kind of ruined it for me, because I was like, oh, you have good, oh, I see why you're doing this. Another one that blew me the fuck away that I thought was really weird was, there is a part in your brain called the pineal gland. And I watched a lot of videos on pineal gland. What did I say?
Penal gland.
Penal, the
peen gland.
The peen.
The peen gland.
You got a little ding-a-ling in your brain.
The pineal.
Pineal.
The panini.
The panini gland. So what this gland does is that it regulates the amount of God, I have it written down. I don't know what the chemicals.
Keep your notes out.
I know. I keep putting it down. Melatonin. It regulates the amount of melatonin in your body.
And what melatonin does, for all you noobs out there,
what melatonin
is
you're gonna ruin it.
Helps you sleep at night and helps you awake in the daytime.
Yeah, melatonin, depending on the amount of level.
It's your internal clock.
Yeah, your circadian rhythm. It's what regulates your amount of sleep. And the chemical can be used for people that do travel. When you go into a different time zone, you can take melatonin and it helps you fall back asleep, because your brain's going, hey, whoa, bro, we don't have enough melatonin in our system. We can't go to sleep. And you can take supplements to increase the amount.
It's time to be awake.
And the way that it's regulated is by the cones in our eyes. A lot of them, it sends a message to the panini gland.
The panini gland.
The panini gland.
And pizza time.
Yeah, and it pretty much tells the brain, hey, we need more melatonin, or we don't. And obviously it has your brain has safeguard, and it's like, no, bro, we don't, or whatever, however it works. But here was the next agenda that I saw that just ruined it for me. A lot of people say that the first place that the chemical, god damn, I suck at this.
Just keep your notes out.
I know. The first place that the fluoride, because fluoride does have calcium in it. They say that it, and it isn't completely proven, They say that it crystallizes on the pineal gland and causes it for people to have irregular sleep patterns. It makes you more tired, obviously all that crap because you can't fall asleep because it's crystallizing this. But that scientifically, I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But this is where it gets crazy. They say that the government is trying to control you because when the pineal gland crystallizes, the pineal gland is also the place where your third eye opens. And obviously for people who haven't heard of the third eye, this is a not completely proven, it's where people get psychic abilities, where you meditate, you open your third eye and you can see the spiritual realm and all that kind of stuff. And really a lot of it people say is hocus pocus. I don't know how it works. I don't meditate. I don't try to open my third eye, quote unquote. But they say this is what's damaged, and this is why the government is trying to control you, because if you're enlightened, you can't see the lizard people.
No, I like it what they're saying is like it kind of maybe will fog up your brain.
Well, I get that. Like the whole if it crystallizes in your
and maybe it does
gland,
create a foggy effect, like that makes people think I'm not thinking clearly.
Yeah,
and I drink water. So
yeah, I'm drinking water and my pineal gland's getting crystallized. I'm not sleeping well at night. Yeah, that makes complete and total sense.
Yeah, but I don't know how much it has to do with
psychic abilities
or like being woke. But I can understand that, obviously that goes again, the government's keeping secrets, the government's trying to control us all. Well, I get it.
We have a lot of time. We can do it for more than an hour, babe. We don't have to do it an hour on the dot.
Yeah, but I want to get through this.
I know, we're going to. I'm almost done. I told you this one was long.
Okay, I didn't realize how long.
Yeah. But the whole thing that I understand exactly why the government does it, because it's in the water, and obviously in places like Colorado Springs where the mineral water there has a lot of fluoride in it, it has to be regulated or you get fluorosis, which isn't good for you. And it's very, very well regulated.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of minerals though that you have to have certain amounts.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't have a lot, and just fluoride seems to be one of the bigger ones because obviously we drink water. We have to drink water. And
people are like, well, I brush my teeth. I have enough fluoride or whatever. I don't need it in the drinking water. And really you can't really get rid of it because, like I said, it can't be completely filtered out using the filtering we have nowadays. It's in 99.9% of the water. And
maybe one day we'll find a way to get all of it.
But it's not hurting anybody. Nobody's dying. It's kind of like the vaccine thing where they're like, oh, it causes autism. But really it doesn't. It doesn't really do anything.
But I think it's good. It's a good topic to keep talking about.
Yeah.
Just because it may spark a mind that maybe will fix that problem,
Yeah.
Get the fluoride out.
Or even figure out if it even is a problem. Because a lot of the people are saying, oh, yeah, well, it is a problem because countries like...
I mean, I feel like that's a good topic to talk about, you know what I mean? And if you keep talking about it and it gets enough attention, it will... Yeah, but if you think the fluoride in the water is affecting people, leave a comment below. If you're one of the fluoride believers, let us know. Like it's genuinely an interesting
And
who knows, it might be causing problems, but it might not be, the government trying to control you.
Brown teeth.
I don't know. I'd say see points from all angles, just because I think that's one of the main arguments of almost everything is that the government is trying to control us. All right,
jumping right in.
Yeah. All right, this last conspiracy theory is hopefully not going to be as long as the fluoride one.
Don't hate on me.
Just because there are a lot of theories of what happened. This is something that I've heard about but never researched about it until I decided, you know what, I'm going to go and jump in. So if any of you heard of, what's her name?
What?
Janae Benet Ramsey?
Oh, John Benet Ramsey.
Yeah, John Benet Ramsey. Well... there's another girl. No, I'm not talking about her. So, I'm going to be talking about the disappearance of Madeline Beth McCann. So, if you heard about this, it's freaking crazy, and I didn't know it went on. So, on May 3rd, 2007, a 3-year-old girl, Madeline, disappeared from her bed when she was on vacation in Portugal. She was staying in a holiday resort, and it is still unknown 11 years later where she remains. She was on a trip with her parents, Kate and Jerry, and her 2-year-old twin siblings, and then her parents had their friends come along, and they brought their children as well. So, Madeline and her twins had been asleep on the ground floor at 8:30, and the parents and their friends decided to go have dinner. So, already off to a bad start, I would think, because first of all, the twins are 2 years old. She's 3 years old.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Damn, those are
And
bad
then
parents.
I do not know how old their friends' kids were, but I assume they were young as well. So they were asleep at 8:30. Her friends and parents were having dinner. They were just 180 feet away. And at 10, Madeline's mother discovered that she was missing. So one of the theories by the Portugal police said she died in an accident and her parents tried to cover it up. But the British DNA and analysis had misinterpreted that. So that was thrown out. So parents were suspects in 2007, but due to lack of evidence, it was lifted. So one of the theories was, again, so they think the parents had sedated her to keep her asleep, and then she died because they, gave her too much and then tried to cover it up. So, but, again, the parents weren't linked to that, so that was thrown out, of course. So, someone who was at the restaurant when their parents and friends were there had seen a man who was walking out of the restaurant and had a child in their arms. Someone said that. But people don't think that's right because, there wasn't enough evidence to support that claim.
It was just like one person.
Yeah, like maybe a few people who were like, oh yeah, I think I've seen. So, sorry, I had to pull out my phone because I have a Twitter page. If you want to go check out the full, conspiracy, it's at SWAYS, because that's where I found it. So anyways, the parents had said, so they made this story that she was probably abducted, and that's all they kept saying is someone took her, and they thought this was really weird because the parents were claiming that she was taken, and the police decided, no, that's not what happened. This is a murder case. Some people believe it was a burglary. I know. I cannot talk today. I'm sorry. Yeah, but it was gone wrong. But people think that was unlikely because obviously there was other children in the room with Madeline.
Yeah, so she couldn't have gotten taken.
Yeah.
But wouldn't the kids say that she died in her sleep or some shit?
So, yeah. So, some people think that she may... Yeah, that's what I think. The kids would probably know unless they really respect their parents enough to be like, okay, we'll lie to them.
Yeah.
Okay, but another thing is they think Madeline had wandered out and fell into one of the nearby construction sites. Or maybe she had wandered out and then got abducted. So that's what they think, is that she did wake up, or maybe she was sleepwalking and just walked out.
And then that guy picked her up and went through the restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Maybe. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I have everything right. So apparently there was a sex attacker who was there for several years and had 9 sexual assaults and 3 near misses on British girls aged 6 to 12 years in the 3 years before Madeleine went missing. And people suspect maybe that's what happened.
Oh, was he was in the area at the time?
Yeah, I think so. Another theory is Madeleine was not abducted from her apartment, but was actually snatched or came to harm after wandering off. So, like I said, woken up, went out, was either, again, was picked up or got hit by a car, and then the person decided to cover it up. You know what I mean? Another one was smugglers came, took her, and smuggled her across the border to somewhere else. That's another theory.
That's fucked up.
And there's 9,000 supposed sightings of Madeleine McCann around the world since her disappearance 11 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. The case is nowhere near being solved, so, there's no, clear evidence. There's no... Well, there's no, clear motive or person to, pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no suspects other than the parents, but they've been cleared.
Okay. So, apparently, the guy from the hotel said that the babysitter was reported not to wander alone at night in fear of being raped or abducted. So around that area, you already have that. The parents have left this 3-year-old girl, her 2-year-old twin siblings alone.
With friends, kids.
Yeah, and their friends' kids. So what do you think happened? I honestly think that she may have gotten murdered, that she may have maybe wandered out to go look for her parents and gotten murdered, or maybe the parents did try to cover it up.
I don't know, because they were British
But
kids.
then again, there's not a lot of evidence.
Well, I do think that it is plausible that...
Especially because there was claims around there that there was a guy, having sexual assault to
and it was
girls.
already a dangerous area anyway. And they're in a different country, too.
Exactly.
And it just, I don't know, I could believe that the kid would walk out because... those parents seem dumb as fuck anyway. Why are you leaving your kids alone to go have dinner?
Yeah.
That's fucked.
Especially in a foreign country.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a foreign country.
Where you don't know anything around
Yeah,
there.
why
you
would
don't know what's happening.
If their parents are that irresponsible, why would they teach the kids, hey, you know what? When we're gone, maybe you shouldn't walk out the door. And if they were 2 and 3... what makes them think that they didn't just go, hey, I'm curious, I'm bored, open the door and just walk out? Or someone even, it could have been as easy as someone knocked on the door.
And maybe she got spooked and decided to wander out, you know what I mean? And be like, I need to find my parents.
Yeah.
Because she's feeling like...
she's feeling sick. I gotta go find mommy. And she walks out the door.
Yeah, and then some guy, takes her.
Snatches her up. That's so fucking sad, dude. That gives me chills up my spine just to think about losing your child.
Yeah, never knowing what happened to her.
That's
unless,
really sad.
they do know what happened to her. But I'm not going to make speculation because I don't know all the evidence.
I'd like to think that she just walked out and got taken.
Not... But I don't know because, the John Benet Ramsey case, her mom was linked there for a while because there was so many kind of, things that they would say to the police that were kind of what?
Yeah.
And,
Well, when you get nervous, you can say some dumb shit. Oh, shit, I shouldn't have said that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, if it's...
when you get nervous, you can't even speak English.
if it's your own kid, you would think you'd kind of know, or you'd... I don't know. But there was, there was a bunch of, other information that I'm kind of keeping out just because I wanted to get to the point of the story. But, yeah, if you want to read up on the case... I'm sure you can find many articles. All you have to type in is Madeleine Beth McCann.
That's interesting.
Disappearance. But yeah, I just think it's crazy that
your kid could just disappear like that.
Yeah, and have no trace. But then again, you don't know, maybe it was a murder. She got murdered and they covered it up.
Yeah, maybe they didn't like her anymore, so they just took her to Portugal to murder her.
No. But I don't know. Like, I haven't ever seen any interviews on the parents, but some people say some of the things that they were saying didn't add up. But then again, you know, I feel like that's in a lot of cases is, you know, things will become
weird.
Yeah, because what did the friend's parents say and what did they say? And, you know, I don't know if they can really interview the kids. I don't know if they have.
Well, even
because little kids sometimes will get too scared.
And plus, if they're 2 or 3, they're barely literate as it is.
Exactly. So how would they know?
Exactly. They may not even understand what would
They
happen.
might not even have remembered because it's been 11 years.
Or they were just sleeping, you know?
Yeah.
It's wild. I don't know.
Unless, like, you know, one of the kids comes out and says, my parents do act weird. This is what they were doing.
Yeah. I found her corpse in the basement or some shit.
No, but I mean, like, because one of the theories was, like, the parents sedated her.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or maybe they gave her too much
What
medicine.
would
Maybe
they
she
do
was
with the body? You feel like the cops would be like, yeah, there's a big old hole over here somewhere.
See, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because sometimes it takes a while to recover a body, you know what I mean?
I guess.
But I don't know. I don't know if she's alive still. I don't know if she's...
Yeah, I don't know. That's odd.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I wish there was some answers. More evidence on it, because it's very interesting.
It is.
And I hope that the family is doing okay.
Yeah, if they didn't do it, I hope they're doing okay.
Yeah,
if they did do it,
then,
fuck them.
Then yikes. But yeah, that's a conspiracy cast. Hope you liked our conspiracy.
Yeah, those were our 6 between the 2 of us. I hope you enjoyed.
Hope you found the topics that we talked about interesting. I don't know. I kind of picked 2 that were like, you know, everyone likes Disney or everyone hates Disney. And then the Madeleine McCann case, I kind of wanted to read up about it for myself because I never heard about it until now.
Yeah, and the fluoride in the water one, I had heard some things about, so I thought that would be maybe cool. The Malaysian Airlines one, I really, really think that disappearance is extremely interesting. I wish there were more evidence or things figured out, or maybe even solved the whole thing. And I wanted to do the David Icke one because, man, that shit is wild. I just want to do a really weird one because there are some weird ones out there. Flat Earth, lizard people,
If
the
you
moose cheese.
want us to do more conspiracies, let us know. Also, if you know of any conspiracies, let us know. Maybe we'll talk about them on the podcast.
This is the month of creepy stuff, so we'll probably do this. We'll do conspiracies. We'll do creepypastas. Just let us know. We're down to do anything if you're interested. So thank you for listening. You can check us out on Twitter. We obviously on YouTube.
Yeah, Twitter is the Vacant Power Hour podcast.
Vacant Power Podcast.
Power Hour Podcast. No, it's just Vacant Hour Podcast.
It's the Vacant Hour Podcast at Our Vacant.
Yeah, at Our Vacant.
So if you want to check us out,
Our Vacant. Sorry.
Yeah, we're leaving tweets. I share some memes sometimes that maybe you'll get a laugh at. Check us out and hope you look forward to the next one.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.